I'm going to show you 7 awesome talismans that you don't want to miss in Elden Ring. Each one of these talismans has its own unique angle that makes it super good for one build or another. Some are just universal, some are very build specific, but they're all amazing talismans and you don't want to miss them at all. The first talisman that you are going to want to get as early as possible is going to be the Great Jar's Arsenal. This one will vastly raise your maximum equip load by 20. If you want to get this talisman, you need to go over to this place right here in Caelid. You can do this by going through the deep Siofra well, or you can do it the way that was not intended by going right here on the map. You come in from the swamp right here. There's a parkour you can do to get up here, but this was definitely not intentional. It'll look something like this. I can tell you right now that parkour is extremely difficult, and once you get past that parkour, you're going to be faced with one of these obnoxious giant bears. Very easy to accidentally die if you're low level. You could easily die to the giant bear. You're going to head over here now, and there is a site of grace, and then from here you'll easily be able to reset and do whatever you need to do in order to get the Great Jar's Arsenal. If, however, you decide that you want to do this the normal way, you're going to have to do it from the Siofra River, which there's like 3 different ways to do this, okay? Everyone has their own preferred way. I prefer to just beat Radon then, and then after you beat Radon, you can go to Fort Height West. There'll be an entrance into Nokron, the Eternal City, which I don't have the map for. You'll go to the Mimic Tier, you'll go over to the Ancestral Woods, you'll drop down to a place in the river, and then, like, you drop down, go to the end, and then you'll find yourself in, like, the grassy area, and then head over to the lift, which the lift will take you right there. And then from there, you can just head up through this ravine, through 2 golem soldiers, over to a Great Jar, talk to the Great Jar, 3 summoning signs will appear, you summon them and beat them one by one, and afterwards you talk to the Great Jar again, and he will give you the Great Jar's, I don't have it on this save, but the Great Jar's Arsenal. That's how to get that talisman, which was, again, the Great Jar's Arsenal. Amazing. Will add 20 equip load if you put it on. Super useful talisman. Highly recommend getting that one. One of the best in the entire game. The next one I want to share with you is the Blessed Dew Talisman. It's a talisman that will make you just slowly recover HP over time. It's a really good talisman to get for anyone who's still going through the game and progressing, because you won't have to use flasks as often when exploring. You'll have to go to Lindell in the earlier half of the game and go to this spot right here. The easiest way to get there is from the West Capital Rampart right here in the Holy City or whatever. You're going to go over here to the northwest and then jump off of here and then jump off here again. You're going to go into that building, and to the right there's a door you can open. You'll go through there, and from this point, I'm going to speed it up because I need to show you 7 talismans, but if you want to slow it down, there's a cogwheel at the bottom right of the video player where you can slow it down to 0.25 times speed to more accurately see where I'm going here. Now, from this point, there is a giant golem guarding the chest, but you have plenty of time to go grab it. He may kill you afterwards if you're not careful, though, but you'll have plenty of time because he takes so long to get up. You'll go here. I've already grabbed it on this character, but you'll open this chest, and then you'll loot it, and it will be the Blessed Dew Talisman. And now you have the Blessed Dew Talisman. It slowly restores HP, and you can see on the right that it heals 2 HP every second. So it's very useful for anyone who's out exploring and doesn't want to have to worry about running out of flasks, or just wants their flasks to go longer and not have to heal to full before a fight. Let them just trust this to heal you up to full. It just saves you flasks. It's a really useful thing to have. Highly recommend getting it as early as possible. Also, apparently there's a way to use Ascending Gate to get here early in Weeping Peninsula. Right down here, I think it's this one right here, there's a tower that has Ascending Gate at the top. Well, it's not Ascending Gate, it's actually one of those chests that you open, and then it just traps you and teleports you, and it'll take you to a spot that you'll be able to get right here. The next talisman is quite possibly the most overpowered talisman in the entire game. This one is going to be the Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. It enormously boosts physical damage negation, gives you around 20% reduction to all physical damage incoming, which is amazing when you think about the fact that pretty much 99% of enemies in this game deal some kind of physical damage at some point in their attack patterns. In order to get this talisman, you're going to have to go to Haligtree. If you've never been to Haligtree before, it's a very late game. You're going to have to go to Castle Sol Rooftop and defeat a boss in order to get a medallion piece there. The other medallion piece will be by Village of Albinurx. You follow the wall and go to the east, and there'll be a guy who's just disguised as a giant pie. He'll give you the other half. Then you'll be able to go to the Grand Lift of Roll to get out here, go to Ordina, Liturgical Town, go to an alternate dimension there, light 4 fires. Then you'll go to Haligtree Canopy. You'll work your way through the Haligtree place, through the prayer room, You go through a bunch of stuff, and you'll eventually find yourself through a rot lake and everything. You have to go to this one first, inner wall. Go through a rot lake and stuff. You'll come out at the drainage channel. And from the drainage channel, I'm going to show you how to get to this talisman. So once you get to this point is where you gotta be careful. You have a few options. You either have a bunch of HP or you try to loot the chest in 2 cycles and die. These enemies will immediately notice you, and you can sit here and be safe, but you need to get to that chest. So in my case, I have so much HP, I could just drop and open the chest and loot it while they're trying to kill me, or do it however you want. It's your choice, but the bottom line is you need to get down here and you need to loot that chest that is right beside me. And that is where you get this Great Shield Talisman that is super duper OP. It will, like I said, it will block all incoming damage by 20%. So instead of taking 100 damage, you take 80. Instead of taking 1,000, you take 800. It's extremely powerful talisman. Not the Great Jars, sorry, this one. Extremely powerful talisman. Dragon Crest Great Shield Talisman. Highly recommend getting this if you can. The next talisman on the list is one that there's a very high chance you've heard of because you're on YouTube right now, but you maybe haven't. And that one is none other than the one, the only, the Gold Scarab. It increases runes obtained from defeating enemies. No special things required. You just have it on, and now you'll get around 20% more runes at all times. Very useful to get, especially early on, and you can get it fairly early on at a place called the Abandoned Cave. In order to get to the Abandoned Cave, you'll go to this smoldering wall, you'll follow this wall, and you'll be able to jump across this ravine. You'll clearly see the entrance when you're in this general area of the map by the smoldering wall. You can jump down and get into the Abandoned Cave. Now, in order to beat the Abandoned Cave, you have to beat 2 bosses at the same time, so you have to be careful about that. And the only reason I'm even showing you this is I'm not going to show you beating the boss. I'm going to show you the trick for not getting as much rot on you. So you can land, and then you can turn around, and then just spam the dodge button, and your person, well, that was not how I want to do that, but your person will do this backstep thing. And that is super useful for getting through rot without getting rotted. That'll help you a lot in this journey, but this one's extremely difficult to get, just know that. But once you're leveled up, or if you have the Sword, Knight, and Flame, or some kind of gimmick, then it's not bad at all. If you're actually low level, like level 10, it'll be kind of rough. So you'll go through here until you get to the end, and you'll fight a boss. If you can beat that boss, then you can find the Gold Scarab, which increases all rune drops by 20%. The next one I'm going to show you is pretty straightforward. It will just shorten spell casting time. Very OP talisman. Actually, technically, a legendary talisman. It actually says a legendary talisman. This is Radagon Icon, and what it does is it will shorten spell casting time. It's the equivalent of having 30 dexterity, and it's something that you can get fairly early on in the game. You'll have to go to Rhea Lucaria Academy and beat some dog boss. Then you'll unlock the Debate Parlor Fast Travel. From this grace, you are going to head to the north in order to get out of this Debate Parlor room. And once you have gotten out of this room to the north, you're going to wrap around to the right and jump over a fence. You're going to climb up and get to a 2nd floor and then open a chest. I'm going to speed it up to save you some time, but you can slow it down with the cogwheel at the bottom right to 0.25 times speed if you need to. And once you get to this point, right above the Debate Parlor, there's this chest, and inside of it will be the Radagon Icon, which will shorten your spell casting time, the equivalent of having 30 dexterity. Very useful talisman for anyone who wants to be a sorcerer or a faith build user. The next talisman on the list is one that you might not realize is actually one of the best talismans in the game. If you are a fan of using the Mimic tier, you may want to consider picking up a talisman called Shabriri's Woe. It constantly attracts enemies' aggression. It's basically a taunt charm. When you have it on, the boss will more likely target you compared to anyone else in the room. So what you can do is you can put this on and then summon your Mimic tier, and then after you summon the Mimic tier, get to a spot where you have a moment, and then open up your inventory and remove the Shabriri's Woe. Now your Mimic tier has Shabriri's Woe, and you don't, which will make your summon hold aggro like 20 times better than it normally would, making your life way easier, depending on how you build your Mimic tier, obviously. In order to get this one, you are going to have to go up to the Frenzied Flame Village. There are 2 ways to get there. There's a normal way to get there, which is from the Grand Lift of Dectus. You just go up this path here. Try not to get killed by the Madness Tower, which, by the way, is line of sight. You can actually hide behind a tree or inside of a bush or anything like that, and then it won't be able to hurt you, but it still just is tedious and takes a long time to get through doing it that way. There's also a parkour that you can do to the south of Frenzied Flame Village, which you can reach from the Mausoleum compound. You'll head up through this path, come through here, and there's a parkour right around here by the Erd tree, which I will show you. So from the Mausoleum compound, I'm going to show you how to get there. I'm going to speed this part up, though. Again, you can slow it down with the cog at the bottom right if you need to slow it down. It's pretty straightforward, though, up here and to the right. Okay, so if you haven't been here before, there will actually be an Erd Tree avatar right there that will try to aggro on you while doing this, making it so you have a time limit on this. But if you've killed him, it's a lot easier. But either way, you're going to jump up onto this rock, jump onto the second part, jump just slightly like that, turn around now by just tapping the horse like that, hopefully not fall off. Then you're going to sprint jump over to this with a double jump up to here, double jump up to here, and now you are up. That is a fun way to get up. Much easier if you're good at parkour, because you don't have to go past the Tower of Madness or whatever it's called. Now you're going to head into this village, and before I go in, I want to point out, it is this house right here on the map, because once I'm in there, I'll be in combat and can't show you. So this exact house on the map is the one that you're going to go to get Shabriri's Woe. So from the village, if you come in from this side, you'll see it is this house right here. I have already grabbed it on this character, but there's an obvious dead body in front of this one. If you see the 5 guards, you know you're in the right spot. This body has the Shabriri's Woe. That is where you can find it. And that is how to get the Shabriri's Woe. Super OP thing to combo with Mimic Tear if you build your Mimic Tear as a tank, or if for any reason you want the Mimic Tear to hold aggro. Now, if you don't use Mimic Tear, not really useful, but this is a specific one that you don't want to miss if you're anyone who ever would want to use the Mimic Tear. Last but not least is a really good talisman that you'll want if you've ever thought about having a bleed build. If you've ever want to get one at any point in your playthrough, you are going to want a talisman called the Lord of Blood's Exaltation. This one will increase your attack power by 20 or 30%. I don't remember. It's between 20 and 30%. Whenever there's any kind of blood loss in the vicinity, it actually activates when blood loss happens. If you take blood loss or something nearby takes blood loss, you'll now have a buff for, I forget, 10, 20, 30 seconds. Doesn't really matter if you're doing a bleed build, but you'll be the one proccing the bleed. So it'll boost your attack anytime there's a bleed. Very useful talisman. Unbelievably useful for bleed builds. You'll be able to find this in the sewers beneath Lendel. There's two. You can get there before or after the halfway point of the game. Don't really want to spoil too much there. That's why I'm saying that. If you go there the earlier way, though, there's a key that you can get from the invader-looking NPC at the Table of Lost Grace just past the Twin Maiden Husks. Keep talking to that person periodically during your playthrough. They'll give you a key to the sewers. Then you'll go search the city for a well, jump into the well, you'll be able to find your way through the sewers, and the main thing that you are looking for is the underground roadside grace, because I can show you how to get there from the underground roadside grace. So from here, you need to go through this door. If you don't have this door unlocked, you're going to have to go to the left, jump through a sewer grate, and then go through a bunch of pipes and stuff, and it's a whole clown fiesta to try to get it unlocked. You'll eventually come through my head looking right there, and you'll be able to open it from that side. Once you have it unlocked, I'm not going to show you that way because I'm trying to summarize all these things. I don't want to drag this video out to like 30 minutes. We're going to drop onto this pipe, then we're going to drop onto this pipe, and then from here we are at ground level, and then from here you're going to watch out for the lobsters who could easily kill you, and you're going to head to the southwest, and right here you will see a door. This is the door that you're going to want to get into if you cannot die, which I may die here. Alright, so now you're in the catacombs. This way will unlock another way to get in here, like a backup way to get in here, but you don't really need it, because once you've been in here one time, you'll have this grace unlocked. Then you can just fast travel here if you die. From here, there's a boss room that you will go into to fight a boss, but it'll be closed, so you'll have to go this way. Now, I'm going to speed this up because it takes a couple of minutes, but I'm going to show you the way to do this in sped up version. If you want it slowed down, definitely use the cog wheel at the bottom right of the video and slow the video player down in order to see this more accurately. And once you've done all that, here is the lever right here. You will pull this lever, and now the door is open, and you're back to the start. So you'll head over this way to the northwest, and now you will be able to get into the boss room. Now, I've already beaten this boss, but I can tell you right now, this boss is very difficult depending on your build. It'll be a guy who does bleed with Reduvia blood blades, and there'll be 2 dogs that both do bleed damage, and they're going to chase you viciously. So if your build has a slow setup, like a mage that has really slow cast times or something, you are going to be in trouble. The best way to fight them generally is just run away and then randomly turn around and stab the dogs till they're dead. And then once the dogs are dead, the fight gets like 10,000 times easier. That's one way to do it. There's a bunch of different ways you could do the fight, potentially. But just be careful of bleed, because they do an insane amount of bleed between all 3 of them. But once you beat them, they will just automatically drop the talisman we want, which is the Lord of Blood's Exaltation. Again, blood loss in vicinity increases your attack power. Whenever any kind of bleed procs anywhere nearby, you will get a bonus to your attack power of, I think, 20 or 30%. It's a lot. It'll make you do a lot more damage in any kind of bleed build. So those are the 7 talismans that you are absolutely going to want to get in this game. Be sure not to miss those. But I'm actually going to give you a bonus one while we're here. There's actually an 8th one that's also really cool. There's plenty of other cool ones too, but just an 8th one for this video. If you go over to the Seathwater Cave down in this ravine, use Stone Sword Key to get in there, beat the Seathwater Cave boss, you will be able to get a talisman that is called the Kindred of Rot's Exaltation. Poisoning or rot in the vicinity will increase your attack power. The reason this thing's OP is what you can do is you can use raw meat dumplings until you are poisoned. It just takes 1. Poison doesn't do very much damage, but now you have 20% more attack power. Now I'm just going to summarize that because it's a bonus one, but that one's also a really cool talisman that I highly recommend getting. Now again, there are plenty of other awesome talismans out there, ones that increase your stats, ones that do all sorts of special things, but here are 7 and a bonus 8th talisman that I think that you guys should probably get before you beat the game if you can. Don't miss out on them. They're really awesome. Highly recommend picking these up. They're really awesome talismans to have in Elden Ring.